Hello! See these structures? There's a couple of them. They are both Cyclopean, built with big blocks of rock without mortar, although of different finishings, and are both located in the south of Spain, less than 100 kilometers apart. All this plus a further coincidence, that they are both called El Higuerón. This name does not seem to be a big deal. Higuerón just means the fig tree, and for that should be a very common name, but in reality it is not, neither so common nor irrelevant. A quick search on the map will find us no more than 20 places with that name in all of Spain. More impressive is that the Cyclopean Higuerón are two out of the only around 10 Cyclopean towers to survive to this day in the region. So, could the uniqueness of a name being applied to two rare Cyclopean walls be just that, a coincidence, or it is a sign of something else, something bigger? The Cyclopean Towers we will be investigating today, the ones called the Fig Tree, are part of a larger band of other Cyclopean buildings that I already made a video about. But the ones named the Fig Tree plus probably the sites of Cancho, Cerro de la Merced, and Cerro Miguelico are special and share some further interesting details. These special towers look like pedestals, mini acropolis, or very large tables, unlike most other Cyclopean towers, such as the ones to be found in the islands of Corsica, Sardinia, or the Balearic. These fig tree constructions were not intended to be like houses, where one can enter inside. They are just squarish blocks without an interior void. Also, they were not embankments, as many other Cyclopean walls are. Usually, the more monumental type of Cyclopean works, such as those to be found in Italy or Greece, are placed on the side of a hill to build a terrace, whilst the fig tree Cyclopean works make up for an all-round box with about 20 meters on each side. Also distinctive, separating these fig tree constructions from the many other Cyclopean buildings around the Mediterranean Sea, is that they are not on high places with commanding views. One sits by the side of a river and the other on a very shallow hill. All in all, they make up for an oddity in terms of design and purpose, making us wonder why would anyone build that. The fig tree buildings are included in the area of influence of an ancient population called the Tartessos, who were a somewhat real and mostly mythical culture in the southwest of the Iberian Peninsula. The more real or later branch of the Tartessos is quite boring for what we know, since we know basically nothing. We don't know what these people would call themselves. They spoke an untranslatable language. Most of their archaeological record is inconsistent, and many findings attributed to them are likely from somewhere else. For sure, we just know that they are, or the people living in these areas at the time, had extensive contacts with the Phoenicians and were very, very wealthy, with their mines funding Hannibal's invasion of Rome and also Scipio's counter-invasion of Carthage. with Tartessos not minding particularly the changing alliances, kind of like the Swiss of the day. The main city of this Iron Age or classical Tartessos was present-day Cadiz, that has nothing to be left to be seen, except for two interesting clues. One is the aqueduct. It's called a Roman aqueduct because the Romans were piping maniacs that fancied hardcore plumbing. However, it is worth noting that of all the hundreds of aqueducts the Romans built or said they did, only two of them used this particular technique of stone pipes. This one in Cadiz, lying on the floor all dismantled, and another one in Turkey, that sits on top of a very fine Cyclopean wall. I would not call it a pipe dream to think these two odd species of aqueducts are somehow related one to another, and not really Roman, but that's just speculation. The second curiosity is the temple of Hercules, Melkart. That was the Phoenician Hercules. The temple today is nowhere to be seen, but it once attracted hordes of tourists, including the likes of Julius Caesar, Hannibal and Scipio. I guess these last two not at the same time, since they wouldn't get along. The relevance of this temple is hard to underestimate, but for now let's just note that Hercules, who we imagine to be a Greek hero, was the same person or god as Melkart, a Phoenician bro from the Levant. Then we have the other Tartessos, the mythical ones, likely older, i.e. from the Bronze Age, making them a bit more confusing, including that no one called them Tartessos, not even in myths. Let's start at the end. There's this Australian mining company, a multinational worth billions of dollars, that could be called Tartessos, but instead is named Rio Tinto, meaning the Red River. The company got its name by acquiring a very old mine in the south of Spain, in a site so dense with minerals it literally paints the river red. Thus, red became the name of the company, the mine, the river, and the land. This red mine, or the region around it, once had the wealthiest mineral deposits in Europe and was coveted by all the Mediterranean powers, who often went to war over it, including the Punic Wars, preventing Hannibal and Scipio from visiting the Temple of Hercules at the same time. The Temple of Hercules was an adaptation of a temple for a Phoenician god called Melkart, that is basically the same guy with a different name. It's only confusing that Phoenicia, in the Levant, around today's Lebanon, is a made-up word invented by the Greeks, meaning the reddish land. What also means the red land is Eretria, the place Hercules visited for his 10th task, procuring the bulls of a very rich king of Eretria. It's only fitting that Eretria was said by the ancient Greek sources to be nowhere else than in the south of Spain. Now, that's a lot to take in, right? But you got the idea. The Greeks were like middle schoolers, giving silly nicknames to everybody, and the Red Land was famous for being extremely rich, and also they had strong relations with the Middle East, or Phoenicia. All good? I hope that you took a breather, because the following pieces of the puzzle will either make sense or make you dizzy. Anyways, let's go back to Hercules, or Melkart, as he was called in both extremes of the Mediterranean Sea. The 11th task of Hercules had him going all around the known world to end up again in the south of Spain to deal with Atlas, the giant holding the sky from falling over the Strait of Gibraltar. Atlas had some hot daughters called the Hesperids, living nearby in a fabulous garden that had a magical tree with golden fruits. The magical tree from the Hesperids' garden is represented in ancient stories as having a snake living in it. Does this special garden with a special tree and a snake on it ring any bell? It should. That's like the first story of the Bible, the Garden of Eden, and the snake and the tree of knowledge. The Hebrew Bible is older than Hercules and was not popular when Hercules was written. This is not one of such cases with pagan rites being adapted into Christianity, where we end up with bunnies laying eggs to celebrate the crucifixion. On the other hand, Melkart, the Hercules of the south of Spain, is coming from the same place as the Bible, in the Levant. Now, I did warn you that this was getting cuckoo, but there's a simpler explanation for it all. The Greeks were middle school copycats, cheating on their mythology homework. Too many of their ideas were actually coming from the East. Now that you start to accommodate or even enjoy the dizziness, let's take a final round at these odd but matching ideas that are not unlike polygonal masonry, weird but fitting one to the other. Let's get into magical orchards. The Temple of Hercules or Melkart in the city of Cadiz attracted famous tourists with a bunch of magical relics, including one mystical tree of Pygmalion. Pygmalion was a Cypriot character that gave life to a doll, like Geppetto and Pinocchio, but in Greek. His special tree, that somehow ended up in Spain, was said to have emeralds for fruits. The tree Hercules was looking for in the garden of the Hesperids had apples, but golden ones, and these could be as much apple as pineapples or pomme de terre. Also not an apple tree was the tree of knowledge in the Bible. It is an unspecified special tree of unknown fruits that eventually got associated with apples, the same way French potatoes did. Another holy tree, this one of Indian fame, had Buddha reaching enlightenment under it, followed by a fight with a type of a snake called Naga. That special Buddha tree for enlightenment is a type of fig tree. The fig tree is the name given to those Cyclopean structures in the south of Spain, and their shape seems most adequate to plant a tree on top, more than anything else. Also, Cyclops are sometimes represented as not with one eye but with a third eye, like Buddha, after the enlightenment, under the fig tree. Finally, in ancient times, poisons, like from snakes, were used as drugs for both medicine, recreation, and future telling. Now, you may be wondering if I had one of those snake apples. I didn't. I wish I did, but I could not find one. And it wasn't just me. These themes of the drug trees expanding consciousness are exciting since Antiquity and would have people crossing the sea to find them and have it be talked about for millennia afterwards. Here's the thing. All these snakes, trees and magical fruits in enchanted gardens from the imaginary red lands of the Tartessos, all those things could be meaningless random facts. Or else, alternatively, it could be that the Garden of Eden actually existed in the south of Spain, placed above those unique fig tree Cyclopean buildings, built on purpose to hold a very special tree, with fruits releasing a powerful drug, as strong as snake poison, enabling the person taking that drug to achieve visions or enlightenment. Is this latter version true? I don't think so, but I wish it was. It's possible and makes up for a great story. Furthermore, for all we know, it is as likely as a story as any other theory ever written about the Tartessos and the ignored Cyclopean walls around there. Next, we'll resume our search for the true Cyclops and not the mythological ones, visiting the best and the oldest Cyclopean walls. That's it for today. Hope you liked it. See you in the comments.